Wings of Fire, Book 6, Moon Rising, Chapter 8. I should go, Moon said to Kinkajou as soon as the Rainwing came back from the fruit pile. No, Kinkajou cried, we're eating together. You haven't even finished your hairy, smelly carcass thing. Sit! She nudged Moon back to sitting. Just for 5 minutes, she wheedled. Moon wanted to argue, but there was a thread of anxiety in Kinkajou's mind. Don't leave me alone. Please stay and be my best friend. That she couldn't resist. Sure, okay, she sat down, rewarded with glowing pink scales. Can you tone that down? Umber asked Kinkajou as he and Turtle joined them, each carrying a fish. I mean, it's a very exciting color that I can't say I've ever seen before, but it's a little bright, suggested Turtle. Noticeable? Tried Umber. Eyeball scorching? Offered Kibbley. This happens when I'm happy, Kinkajou said, unruffled, but if you prefer something more sedate. She turned a vibrant shade of lime green splashed with violet spots. Moon nearly choked on her goat. Ah! Kibbley yelped, covering his eyes. I don't actually know you, Umber said to Kinkajou. You might be totally serious right now. No, I'm just kidding, Kinkajou said with a giggle, bumping Moon's side again. I can totally be ordinary and boring, don't worry. Her scale shifted again, rippling the same quiet brown color as Umber's, and she gave him a wide-eyed, see, boring stare. Boring hasn't exactly made it onto my list of words to describe you, Moon said. Winter! Kinkajou shouted. The Icewing paused in an act of sweeping majestically past them. Yes, he said frostily to Kinkajou. Don't you want to sit with us? Kinkajou asked. I mean, we're your winglet now and everything. A wave of ice blue shimmered across her scales and then vanished again. Moon tried and failed to stuff all the dreamy thoughts from Kinkajou's head into a raindrop. Winter looked down at his nose at the Rainwing. Absolutely not, he said, and stalked away toward another Icewing perched on a ledge, slightly above the rest of the dragons. He's so tortured, Kinkajou sighed happily. You're a little weird, Moon pointed out. Kinkajou was about to reply when a hush fell over the cave. They all twisted around and saw that Anemone paced slowly through the door with her head held high, followed by a thin, quiet-looking Sandwing. The Seawing Princess, rippled through everyone's minds. Oh, thank the moons, Anemone said, spotting the net of fish, her voice clear and high. I haven't eaten since we left Queen Moorhen's palace yesterday. She stepped delicately around a Sandwing, who was chewing something on the floor, and surveyed a small fish that hadn't been claimed yet. A number of Mudwings, Seawings, and Skywings were clustered nearby, brown, green, and red scales side by side as they ate. I like that one, Anemone said sweetly. She pointed at a giant gray fish with a pale, speckled pink belly, a Nightwing. One Moon didn't know had already had his claws around it, and he was lifting it to his mouth. He paused and stared at her. She gazed back innocently, her chin raised. Said the Nightwing. This one? That one, said Anemone. It's my favorite kind. The one that I'm eating? He said. You heard her, snapped one of the Seawings, a skinny grayish-blue dragon whose hostile mental vibrations seemed familiar. Moon thought for a minute, and then guessed that he was the same one Clay had separated from Carnelian in the hallway yesterday. Pike, if she'd remembered right. But I'm eating this one, said the Nightwing in a tone of deep confusion. Oh, but I would like it very much, said Anemone. Anemone, Tsunami tried to interrupt, stepping forward. Don't you know this is the Seawing Princess? Pike snarled. He shoved himself in the Nightwing's face and flexed his webbed talons. The heir to the throne. Give her the fish now. Said the Nightwing. She's not my princess, though, his friend mumbled. Clay hurried over through the silence that had slowly fallen around Pike. Anemone and the Nightwing. Most of the other dragons were staring at them, except for Coconut, who was deeply focused on a bunch of grapes. Hey, this is an understandable mistake, Clay said, gently scooting the Nightwing back away from Pike. We haven't posted any Prey Center rules yet, but we will. Basically, whoever gets their claws on it first, they get to eat it. If we find this doesn't work, we'll revisit the rules in a couple of weeks. But that's how it is right now. All right? Pike scowled. But the princess wants that fish. This one's going to be trouble, Moon heard from Clay's mind, clear as day. He sighed. I do, Anemone agreed. She looked up at Clay with large blue eyes. Mother would want me to have it. There's lots of other fish, Clay said, and you're welcome to come join us in the evening when we go out to catch more on one of the mountain lakes. That'll be fun, Tsunami said, elbowing her sister heartily. I'll come, too. There's some awesome lakes I want to show you, not far away from here. Anemone blinked. She looked from Clay to Tsunami and then narrowed her eyes at the Nightwing, who was surreptitiously starting to chew on the fish's tail. So that's how it's going to be? I don't like this at all, said her mind. But her mouth said, oh, very well. Moon wondered if she'd imagined the ghost of a smile that whisked across Turtle's face. You can have my fish, Princess, Pike said, handing her a dripping salmon that he'd already sliced lengthwise with his claws. Anemone looked down her nose at it, then shook her head. I'm not actually that hungry after all. Come on, Ostrich. She swept out of the cave, deliberately avoiding Clay. The Sandwing glanced around, thinking disappointed, hungry thoughts, but then hurried after the princess. Pike hissed at the Nightwing. You'll pay for this, Bigtail, he smiled. Nobody disrespects the Seawing princess. Time to cool down, Pike, Tsunami said sternly. Pike hissed again, but slunk off with his salmon. Oh dear, thought Clay. Moon watched him smile at the Nightwing as if nothing was wrong, and then give Tsunami a, we should talk about that, look. She rolled her eyes and hurried after her sister. Umber's whole face lit up as Clay paced over to them. Hey, Clay said, affectionately nudging his little brother. Where are Marsh and Sora? Coming over now, Umber said, waving his wings. Moon sat up and saw Sora approaching with another dragon who looked like her, only more fidgety and nervous. Sora's expression was subdued, but painful anxiety clawed at her inside, all jumbled into scraps of thoughts. Are we safe? Miss Reed. I saw her. Can't sleep. Not safe anywhere. Oh, Crane, I wish you were here. The Mudwing took a deep breath and started the same internal ritual that Moon had found in her mind the night before. Sora imagined mud slowly pouring over all her worries, leaving only a rippling, peaceful swamp. She's like me, Moon thought. Everyone here was anxious in the same way, but with Sora it rained deeper, all the way to paralyzing fear. She wanted to escape, as much as Moon did, or at least the way I wanted to escape yesterday. Now, well, she had to admit that she was wondering if maybe her mother was right. Maybe school wasn't so terrible after all. Poor Sora. She needs a crazy, enthusiastic clawmate like Kinkajou to take care of her. Maybe I can help her. Maybe because I know how scared she is. Maybe I can make her feel better. Maybe that's the one good thing I can do with my powers. This is my brother and sister, Umber said. Marsh is really fast. You should see him fly. And Sora knows everything. She's the only one who's ever practiced her reading. He beamed at both of them as if they were the most special, perfect dragons in the world. Hey, Kibble said, his mouth half full of goat. He looked as though he wasn't particularly paying attention, but part of him whispered, that's the Mudwing sibling bond, loyal like the Outclaws are to Thorn, but probably more so. Wish I had a brother and sister that liked me that much, and that I liked that much. Actually, a brother and sister who didn't actively try to kill me every time they see me would be a dramatic improvement. I'm Moon, remember? Moon said to Sora, trying to look friendly and not threatening. Would you want some? She held out a piece of her prey. Sora gave her a small, shy smile. Thank you. She took the goat leg in her claws, tore it in half, and gave the other half to Marsh. Who's in your winglet? Umber asked. Marsh, you're in the copper winglet, right? Yeah, that's my clawmate, Marsh said, nodding over at Coconut. Ha, Kibble said, that's perfect. Put the slowest, least threatening dragon in the world with the most nervous, not even this twitchy Mudwing could even be scared of that sloth masquerading as a dragon over there. Marsh looked around, twisting his claws in nervous circles. I don't remember the other names yet. That's all right, you'll figure them out. Sora? Clay prompted his sister. Anyone really nice? She fiddled with the meat in her talons, pulling out tufts of fur. There's a ravening wing in my winglet who seems nice. She's blind. Tamarin, Kinkajou cried. Oh, you must be in the gold winglet. She's my best friend. Moon decided not to be hurt like this. She knew Kinkajou would have other best friends, possibly 6 more by the end of lunchtime. A sandwing named Onyx, Sora said, counting on her claws. That seawing over there, Pike. His clawmates, a nightwing named Bigtail, and a skywing with a bad scar across his snout. And my clawmate. She nodded to the far wall at the ice wing, seated on the ledge next to Winter. They were both gazing disdainfully down at the eating dragons above them. Above them, sharp twisting stalactites studded the roof of the alcove where they sat, almost as though they were glaring out of a mouth filled with enormous teeth. Winter's sister, Kibble said. Then you and I are in the same tent, friend. Is she as stuck-up as her brother? Has she mentioned being in line for the Ice Wing throne yet? Sora blinked at the ice wings. Ripples shuddered across the mud puddles in her mind. but she refused to let whatever was under there escape. Her name is Icicle. To be honest, Clay admitted, from what we'd heard about Icicle, we figured we'd have to put her in the same cave as the nicest, least offensive dragon that we could think of, so there wouldn't be any casualties for the first week of school. I hope it's going all right, Sora. His sister dropped her gaze to her claws. It's fine, she said. Let me know if it's not. Clay said gently, It's really important to me that you be happy here. Sora nodded, thinking of the same brothers and sisters Moon had seen in Umber's mind. Don't we have history together next? Turtle said. Our winglet and your winglet together? Do we? Umber said, delighted. I think so, Kibbley said. Moon could see that he had the day's schedule memorized, plus the detailed layout of the school map in his head, but he was pretending to still be figuring things out like the rest of them. I have to go to the library first, Moon said to Kinkajou, but I'll catch up with you. She stood up and paused, listening to the uneasy, rippling quiet in Sora's mind. Do you want to come with me? She asked Sora. The Mudwing blinked at her in surprise. I do, she said, standing up, and they headed out of the prey center together. Moon could hear the reactions stirring up behind them. That was nice of Moon, Umber thought. Aw, maybe they'll be friends, went through Clay's mind. Does she like her better than me? Kinkajou thought forlornly. My boring little clawmate with a Nightwing, came out of frigid thought across the cave. What's that all about? Moon hurried into the stone tunnel, trying hard to think about raindrops. They were halfway to the library before she realized that neither she nor Sora had said a word the whole walk. Moon said, the library's great, isn't it? Sora nodded. I like the leaf windows, Moon added. Sora nodded again. Me too, she whispered. Is this what I seem like to everyone else? Moon wondered. Shy and really hard to talk to? Maybe I should try a little harder. It's easy to talk to my mystery friend, but I don't have to hide anything from him. I guess I couldn't, even if I wanted to. Starflight sat up as they came into the library, setting aside a stone tablet with letters carved into it. Hello, he said tentatively. It's Moon and Sora, Moon said. Oh, hi, he said, relaxing. Sora, I found that scroll on Ice Wings for you. He slid a scroll across the desk with his claws. Sora glanced at Moon, ducked her head, and mumbled something like, figuring out my clawmate. She took the scroll and scurried over to her spot by the windows. How are you, Moon? Starflight asked. How was that class this morning? Terrifying. All right. Interesting, she said. Do you have any scrolls about dream visitors? He tipped his head, frowning a little. I'm sure we do. Why? You haven't been visited by someone, have you? I'm just curious, Moon said quickly. Someone mentioned them in class, and I don't know anything about them. Starflight slid something out from behind the desk and started walking. Starflight slid out from behind the desk and started walking along the shelves, touching the carvings here and there. If you ever do see a strange dragon in your dreams, let me know, all right? Especially if she's a skywing. A viciously scary orange dragon wreathed in smoke flashed through his mind. A skywing? Moon said alertly. Why? Starflight sighed. Queen Scarlet, ex-Queen Scarlet, is out there with a dream visitor, and she hates us. I worry sometimes that she'll start scaring our students in their dreams, and that's far from the worst she could do, he thought anxiously. How did she get the dream visitor? Moon asked. We're not entirely sure, Starflight said. He tilted his wings back and scratched his head. She must have found it while she was imprisoned in Burn's weirdling tower, and Burn must have not known it was there. My theory is that Scarlet found it in this Nightwing corpse that she disemboweled somehow. Oh, Moon said. Does anyone know where the other two dream visitors are? To her surprise, Starflight nodded. We know one for sure. It's right here in the school. I think Sunny has it this week. We got it from a scavenger who stole it from the Sandwings, and we're pretty sure the other dream visitor was lost in the volcano. I found it in the Nightwing treasury, but someone stole it from me shortly before the island exploded. You don't know who? He shook his head, flickers of guilt ricocheting through his mind. Here. He brushed his talons across a section of the wall, and then chose a scroll and held it out for her. This should be the Animus Histories. It's about several Animus-touched objects, and the dream visitors definitely have a section in there. Thanks, Moon said. Could she have heard Queen Scarlet in someone else's dream last night? Another awful thing followed that one. She hesitated, but she had to ask. Could a dragon ever use a dream visitor to talk to someone when they were awake? Like, in their heads? Now Starflight looked really puzzled. No, that wouldn't make sense, he said. The way they're enchanted is to get into dreams, nothing else. Why do you ask? Just heard a story once, Moon said. I promise you, little Moon. I am no Skywing. Then who are you? Moon thought back fiercely. No answer, of course. She took the scroll over to a ledge by the biggest window and curled up with her back against a tapestry-covered wall. There were more Animus-touched objects than she would have expected, considering that there hadn't been that many Animus dragons in Furia's history, at least as far as anyone knew. She stopped on a spread with a beautiful drawing of a tall, sweeping pavilion, 12 stories high, made of white stone, and looking as if it had grown straight out of the water into this perfect shape. The Seawing Summer Palace, read the caption, made of stone enchanted by Albatross, a Seawing prince, to grow into a tower he designed. That's really pretty, Moon thought, brushing one claw lightly across the dragon. I wish I could create something like that. She rolled the scroll to read the longer paragraph on the side. Albatross was one of the first known Animus dragons, hatched over 2,000 years ago before anyone truly understood the limits of his power. He used his Animus magic to create many things, including the beautiful Summer Palace Pavilion, whose location is known only to Seawings. But at the time, nobody realized the terrible price of using Animus powers, and nobody saw that Albatross was slowly going insane. Not until the Royal Seawing Massacre. It was a devastating shock to the entire kingdom of the sea when Albatross, who had been hailed as one of the greatest Seawings of all time, suddenly snapped and tried to murder his entire family. He managed to kill 9 dragons, including his sister the Queen, his own daughter, and her husband, before someone was able to stop him with a spear to his chest. Among the few who survived were his young grandson, Fathom, and granddaughter Pearl. Pearl ascended the throne peacefully and ruled for many years. One of her first edicts was to outlaw the use of Animus magic anywhere in her kingdom. Her brother Fathom was an Animus dragon himself, but after the massacre, he refused to ever use his power, except perhaps once. See Fathom. Moon shivered. What an awful story. I guess there are worse powers than mine in the world. At least mind reading only made her socially anxious and gave her headaches. She was pretty sure it wasn't turning her homicidal, though. She found the section on dream visitors and studied the drawing of the 3 star-shaped sapphires. Dream visitors, read the caption, enchanted by a Nightwing named Darkstalker to allow whatever dragon holds one to walk into any other dragon's dreams. Moon hadn't realized they were made by a Nightwing. She unrolled it to read the longer description. The first known Animus dragon was in the Nightwing tribe. Darkstalker, who had the powers of mind reading and prophecy as well, making him a truly formidable dragon. He created 3 dream visitors, so there would be one for him, one for his best friend, See Fathom, and one for his beloved, a dragon named Clearsight. They were intended to link the 3, no matter how far apart they were. That's sweet, Moon thought. If it were her, who would she give the dream visitors to? Mother, of course. She felt a twinge of sadness and also guilt that she'd managed not to miss her mother every second that she'd been gone. Who else? Kinkajou? The idea of Kinkajou flinging rainbows around in Moon's dreams, as well as in her waking thoughts, was a little alarming. The answer is no one, really, Moon admitted to herself. She didn't want anyone to see inside her subconscious. If they did, she was sure they'd never trust her again. Ultimately, Darkstalker grew too powerful, and his ambitions began to terrify the dragons around him. He claimed he'd found a way to make himself immortal. Rumor had it that he planned to overthrow the Nightwing King and seize the throne for himself. After he killed his own father with an aspect of Animus power that no one had ever seen before, the tribe agreed. He was too dangerous to be free. The details of the trap set for Darkstalker are locked to history, but it is certain that he and Clearsight disappeared one night and were probably both killed at the same time. It is also believed that he was ultimately taken down with an Animus object created by Fathom, the only time Fathom ever used his power. Fear of the Darkstalker lingered in the Nightwing tribe, however, causing them to move to a new secret home in case he ever returned. Nightwing ghost stories still speak of him, and there are still those who still believe that one day Darkstalker may yet rise again and come seeking his revenge. Nightwing ghosts, Moon thought, touching the scroll lightly. Mother never told me any traditional Nightwing ghost stories. She had much more effective ways of terrifying me, just by telling me about the volcano and the rainwings, and what would happen if another Nightwing ever found me in the rainforest. She rolled the scroll in either direction, but there was no more information about dream visitors. Read the section on Fathom, the mystery voice had suddenly commanded in her head. On Fathom? Moon thought, glancing up. Sora shifted lightly, but kept her eyes on her scroll in front of her, drowning her worries under a deluge of words about Icewind. Why? To find out what he did with his dream visitor? Just read it, the voice said. There was an odd vibration to it that she hadn't heard before, like an egg shuddering before it cracked. What do you know about Fathom that I don't? Moon wondered, as she rolled through the school. She quickly found the section on Fathom, alongside a giant illustrated question mark. Grandson of Albatross, the perpetrator of the Royal Seawing Massacre. See Albatross. Fathom was so traumatized by his family's murder that he swore an oath to his sister Pearl, the new Seawing Queen, that he would never use his animus magic. Fathom was sent to the Night Kingdom to befriend and guide a young animus dragon named Darkstalker. The hope was that Fathom's sad story, his caution, and his understandable wariness about their powers would have a positive effect on the ambitious, brilliant Nightwing. At first, it seemed to work, and they became close friends, but Darkstalker could not be convinced that his powers were dangerous, and as he used them more and more, Fathom and the other Nightwings became afraid of him. Fathom was among the first to send a warning about his friend, and the stories say he was the one who convinced Clearsight that Darkstalker could not be trusted. The legend says that Fathom finally agreed to use his power just once, to enchant an object that would stop Darkstalker, since nothing and nobody else would. Whoever the object was, it must have worked, and Darkstalker disappeared and was never seen again. How sad, Moon thought, studying the power of a worried-looking Seawing. Picture of a worried-looking Seawing. He must have felt awful doing that to his friend. I wonder what he enchanted. There was a deep pause, and Moon could almost have sworn that she felt the mountain tremble slightly under her talons. It was a bracelet, the voice whispered, soft as leaves falling. Moon blinked at the scroll. What? A bracelet, a wrist cuff, enchanted to put me to sleep forever. Since I couldn't die, that story about making myself immortal was true. They had to come up with something else. Her whole body felt numb, like ice was sweeping across her scales. I knew it, the voice went on. I knew when she pulled it right out, right before she put it on me. I thought Fathom must have touched that. He broke his sacred oath to his sister just to betray me, but I wasn't sure until now. What are you saying? Moon asked, pressing her claws into the stone below her. I'm saying, nice to meet you, Moon. My name is Darkstalker.